Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Okay. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Part 2. Joining me today is...
Hi, I'm the Comics Kid 2099.
And I am Deadpoolzilla, you fucks.
You fucks? God, it's just so hostile right from the beginning. Ah. Sad situation. Anyway.
Yeah, sad with an exclamation point.
Yeah.
That's how, say it like Trump.
Sad. Anyway, so today we are doing a review topic. Deadpoolzilla, what are we reviewing today?
Today we are reviewing the Superman-Batman comic from the Pre-52 continuity, The Search for Kryptonite. And I kind of picked this book because, A, we've been dealing with a lot of heavy and dark stuff, and I was like, we need a little brightness here on Geeky Gentlemen, to show we're not a bunch of assholes. And B, sometimes this is a perfect example of a comic that shows sometimes comics can just be fun. I could understand, like, you need your dark storytelling and, your comics that make you think about the world around you. But sometimes you just need a comic where Superman and Batman go around the world picking up kryptonite and fighting a giant monster made of said kryptonite.
I mean, you kind of pitch this like it's all just happy-go-lucky cheeriness. There's some pretty dark themes in here, particularly against the government.
There's still some dark themes in here, but it's a blend of dark themes mixed with, this is like a modern day Silver Age story.
Maybe I could see that. I can see that perception. I do think there's some darkness built in here that you're kind of underselling.
We'll get to that. I was trying to be like, hey kids, let's have some fun with Superman and Batman looking for kryptonite.
It's funny that you picked this arc, because this is an arc I hadn't read, but I really I got into comics right at the tail end of the old 52. I started reading weekly comics right at the tail end of that. And the Batman-Superman book was one of my favorite things because it was doing all these out-of-continuity, just one-and-done, essentially, stories. Mm-hmm. And, like, its whole claim to fame was it doesn't even really have to be in continuity, so, like, when Dick Grayson was Batman, Bruce Wayne was still running around in the Batman costume in this book. And so just... when you say, like, yeah, Batman, Superman, lighthearted, I'm like, I read a lot more lighthearted stuff in this book than this story. Just by comparison is kind of where I'm at, headspace-wise. But, Ruben, you actually said you owned this already.
Yep.
What made you go buy it?
I had not read it before I bought it. I have quite a bit of this series. Looking on my shelf, it looks like I have about 10 of the trades from this series. So I was just I collect Batman books anyway. I have like 3 shelves of Batman books and then about roughly 1.5 shelves of Superman. So that was a natural series for me to collect. I really, at the time that the arcs were coming out, I really liked the Jeff Loeb run, which started this series. It lasted about 2.5 years. And so after that, I was just kind of like, well, at that point, it's kind of like you said, there was no through line anymore. You would have an arc by Alan Burnett and then an arc by, I don't remember who wrote this, like Michael Green, maybe?
Green. Yeah, it was Michael Green.
And so, like, you could just, any arc by anyone. And then, not to say it's filler, but, so, like, at that point, it's like, well, it's got Superman and Batman, 2 characters I like, so I'll buy it and see what happens. So yeah, I bought it basically sight unseen because it was a series that I was already buying.
Okay, that's fair enough. I like I said, I hadn't read this particular arc before. One of my very first comics that I owned, I think, was one of the free versions of the Jeff Loeb first issue. Mm-hmm. And so like this series is really interesting. I kind of want to go back and watch the animated movies based off the Jeff Loeb arcs.
Which, by the way, why was this is like a perfect one to do an animated film off of.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. They're trying to do more current stuff. I guess they're trying to take more of an Eastern influence in that regard. But, yeah, it's interesting to go back and see this because I love this book. There's if you want to hear me talk about this series more, you can go over to the World's Finest podcast because I did like a half-hour podcast on a single issue with Damian and Supergirl solving a murder together, and it's adorable. I love this series though. So yeah,
there's also, I remember, like a 2-part arc during Blackest Night with Bizarro and Man-Bat fighting Black Lantern Solomon Grundy.
Oh god damn! How did I not read that?
Awesome.
That sounds amazing.
One of the first issues of this series I read was a team up between Connor Kent and Tim Drake that I don't think is collected in any trades, but I really liked that issue.
Yeah. Okay, so that all being said, what about the story itself? This is a really interesting thing, and while I do like it, and generally I like some of the characterization and ideas here, I can't help but get the feeling that Michael Green, who I don't think I've read much from outside of this, I can't help but get the feeling that, like, he's got a general sense of who Batman is, and he's got a general sense of who Superman is. But I don't feel that he's got a strong grasp on either character he's writing here. Because they're both... There's definitely, like, a fun idea behind the story, and neither of them is, like, super out of character. But both of them are just a little out of character here and there. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, maybe that's my interpretation that they're out of character. Maybe his view on the characters is just slightly different than mine, but I don't know. Some of the stuff here was a little, to me. What do you guys think?
For me, this was like one of the first books I had in my collection, and this comic it does have its dark themes, but I think all around it's just kind of a fun story. And I will agree that does feel a little out of character at points, but I can probably understand where Superman's coming from, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But for Batman, yeah, it's a little out of character, but I do like how he has them interact with one another, where it's not standoffish. It's more like this is a Superman and Batman who have worked together and are close. So I like it that, that's how I like Superman and Batman's relationship, where it's not like, they don't really trust each other. They just work together. It's more like, no, we're pretty much family, you and me.
Yeah, I agree with that. What about you, Ruben?
I didn't really... There's just one instance of Batman doing something that I didn't really like. Other than that, like Deadpoolzilla said, Superman is... And they even kind of make a plot point out of how he's very focused and very obsessive in this arc, and Batman mentions that at one point. And so they kind of make that as part of the story, so I can understand that. But there was really just one moment with Batman where I was like, I don't think so. I don't like the way that was done. But for the most part, I agree with Deadpoolzilla. I like it whenever these two are friends. And they're still kind of, there's that backstory of they're from two different worlds. This is not a pre-crisis version where they're like walking around in daylight and they're both smiling real big. Like, this is still the grim and gritty Batman who, he is very difficult for him to trust people. And so, but he trusts Superman to be, who he is. And, you can see in some of his dialogue, or not dialogue, the thought captions, where he's he knows that Superman is a noble. Like, at one point, he calls, on that magic island, he calls Superman a noble soul. So, I like their friendship here. And for the most part, I feel like the characterization was handled pretty well.
See, and I don't know about all that, because, like, alright, so really early on in the first issue, the jolt of lightning from Livewire explodes the kryptonite, and it goes into Superman, and we see some of it gets in his eye, and then we get a panel of the kryptonite going into his bloodstream. And then, like, yeah, he heals, Alfred saves him, and all that stuff. But, like, right after that moment, he comes up to Batman, and he's like, okay, I want to get rid of all the kryptonite on the planet. And I was watching that scene, and I just thought to myself, man, this Superman, like, this whole plan is going to be Superman, like, you know, subjected to some type of kryptonite poisoning in the bloodstream. Some kind of thing that's making him just a little too crazy, a little too paranoid. And then we get to the end of the story, and that's not it at all. Like, the panel, I read too much into the kryptonite in the bloodstream, I guess. But just, I don't know, man. Something about this, I would buy that Superman would, when he encounters kryptonite, would destroy it. What is that show? The Batman, when they introduced Superman into the series, he took some kryptonite that was used in an attack and, like, threw it into the sun. That I buy. There's something that gets really weird to me about Superman, like, tracking down pieces of kryptonite and, like, stealing them and stuff like that.
How I kind of see it is that Superman nearly died this time. Like, it entered his brain, it got in his eye, it damn near killed him. They even say, like, in the comic, you got lucky that Wally got to you in time. So he's a little, Superman is humbled by this. He's, Clark is, he's damaged by this. And they do kind of point here and there that, yeah, Superman's just he's freaking out because he wants to just protect mankind, but at the same time, even Batman doesn't see it at first. He's like, he's becoming the very thing people are afraid of him for what he's trying to do. And I like that. And it does kind of show that Superman is fallible in the sense that he felt this very human thing. He felt like he was close to death. And let's be honest, if you got shot, if you were, as powerful as Superman and you got taken down a few pegs, wouldn't you want to be, cleaning up the thing that can kill you?
Yeah, I don't know. There's just something about it. That so doesn't feel like Superman to me. I don't really have much of a justification for it, and Green is certainly welcome to his interpretation of the character being willing to kind of cross this morally gray line, but, like, there's a scene, and I imagine this one was probably Batman or something, but, like, there's a scene where they go to a museum, cut open a case, and take the kryptonite out of it and leave cash in the case. And I'm like, I have that's just something I just don't feel like Superman would be okay with, even if the thing in the case would hurt him. Because, like, Lex Luthor's constantly shown, like, building stuff to try to hurt Superman. And the obvious thing for Superman to do would just be to fly in and just destroy literally all of it, right? But, like, he never does that because he's Superman. He's aware of the image around him, and I feel like that's enough to restrain him from these kind of activities. And then there's the other side of it. This is not the Batman that's, well, to a certain extent. For the majority of the story until the last page, this is not the Batman of Tower of Babel.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. It's interesting to me that Tower of Babel came out in 2000, and this came out in 2004, I believe. And so in Tower of Babel, Batman, he has these safeguards against the entire Justice League, and most of them are pretty angry with him. And he even justifies it and says, like, you've got like people like General Zod, who has Superman's abilities, and so it makes sense that Batman would have kryptonite in case something like that happens. Or like he mentioned some weird alien who took over the Justice League and like had them do evil stuff. So like
it makes Starro.
Yeah. There was another alien too, I think. But like, so it makes sense that Batman would have these contingencies. and so it's weird that, like, you know, Aquaman kind of calls out Superman and says, like, did you really think people wouldn't want these contingencies? I think it's understandable that Superman is like, I'm just here to help, but like, surely he knows, like, well, what happens if an evil Kryptonian comes to Earth, or what happens if Starro takes over you again, or Ultraman comes from a parallel universe? Like, there's a lot of stuff that could happen, and it'd be really nice to have some kryptonite in case that happens. And like, they don't ever bring that up in this story.
Yeah, well, they mention it briefly with Aquaman and stuff, and to be fair, we do see that this is a Batman still very paranoid of the harmful possibility of Superman. That last page is fucking beautiful, and I love it to death. It's like, Superman gives him the last piece of kryptonite. It's like, someone needs to have this, and I trust you. I know that you trust me, Clark. And you just see he's got like a whole room filled with kryptonite and specialties of the variations.
See, I didn't like that.
No? See, that
No, well,
that little turn kind of made the whole story work for me as far as Batman's character.
Well, see, I'm okay with Batman having kryptonite in case something happens. And like, there's a story that came out in the early 90s called Dark Knight over Metropolis, where it's a typical team up where they don't really get along with each other. It's like their third team up in post-crisis continuity. And then at the end, Superman says, something's going to happen one day where somebody might take over me, or I turn against humanity. Here's some kryptonite that you need to have. And it's a bond between them because Superman is consensually giving him the kryptonite. And so much of this story is built on how these two trust each other. Like, Batman is eating breakfast with the Kents in his secret identity, talking about, my secret is safe here. And then Batman is going behind Superman's back. And like, it makes sense, you know, Batman has contingencies and stuff, but a big part of Tower of Babel was that Superman said, yeah, it makes sense for you to have contingencies, but you should have at least told us that you had them without even, you didn't have to tell us what the contingencies are, but just telling us that you have them would have built that trust. And Superman, or Batman, having the kryptonite and not mentioning it, I feel like violates that trust.
I mean, like, to be fair, I feel like Clark already knew that he had some. I don't think he realized the level to which he had some.
Yeah. Clark had to have known, like, Clark knows Bruce at this point. Like, he would have known, like, you probably have more than I'm giving you, but he probably didn't know he had that much stockpiled.
Yeah, that's what I really like. It's not just the ring. Like, that's what it usually is Superman's class ring, right? Mm-hmm. It's not just the ring. It's like a whole fucking stockpile. And that, I don't know, that was a really interesting little commentary. I quite like that. That was a neat twist on things. Is it, I don't know, you could probably make the argument that it's slightly out of character for the version presented here. And I'm not going to disagree, because I think that's the thing that makes... that kind of works toward my personal view of Batman's characterization, at least in this era. But at the same time, you definitely could make that argument and say that the last page is there just as like the big, you know, cliffhanger, mic drop kind of moment. But I don't know, I really did enjoy it. That twist ending really worked for me.
What did you guys think of the artwork?
You know, it's pretty typical 2000s stuff. You know, it's like, it's better than 90s, but a little too, show-offy of like, look what we can do now that we have copy and paste. Like, and there's not necessarily a ton of that in here, but that's just a general trope of 2000s.
Sean Davis's artwork can be very hit and miss, like, for me, like David Finch's artwork or John Romita Jr.'s artwork, where there are like characters I like to see them, and when they hit on point. Like, I love Sean Davis's artwork in Superman Earth 1, which he did with JMS, but here it gets a little like muddied at points. I mean, I still like it, and I get that, you know, it does kind of take on an anime look at points, but I think like that works because I really like how he does a contrast of like the darkness to Batman and the light with Superman. Like, he really gets the contrast between the two characters and the surroundings around them.
Yeah, okay.
It kind of reminded me, at least his interpretation of Batman kind of reminds me of Jim Lee a little bit. And I'm not a huge Jim Lee fan, so that wasn't really my cup of tea. But his Superman doesn't really remind me of Jim Lee's Superman. So I'm not saying it's all very similar to Jim Lee, but some of it I was like, that kind of looks like what Jim Lee would have drawn here.
Fair enough. I don't know. For me, I liked a lot of the art. It's interesting. I like the way Kryptonite was drawn, which is not like saying much, but there's such a focus on the fact that Kryptonite can be beautiful. I really like the passage about, can you imagine working with this, building on this? And it's like this, pristine crystalline structure. Like, that was all really cool. And he did a good job of visualizing that in a really interesting way. I also think this kind of takes some of the best things about Smallville that, like, work conceptually but were never really done properly in the show. Like, with the idea that Kryptonite mutates things from Earth. And I thought that was visualized in a really cool way with both the gigantic Kryptonite Crypto Freak anglerfish and the Kryptonite Doomsday. Those were both really cool ideas, and they were rendered on page really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like the idea that Kryptonite, in Smallville, I like the idea that Kryptonite could give people superpowers just because it gives him an opportunity to have some villains that he can fight. Otherwise, it's going to be a pretty boring show.
Yeah.
But
don't worry, it's still managed.
Oh.
But what I like, this is what I like, is that, because technically, Kryptonite's radioactive, and it, the radioactivity, is probably going to mutate
and
some
as
people.
We all know, radioactivity automatically equals superpowers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in comics, yes. And I'm glad. Yeah, you made a good point. Is like, at least they gave they did it. They pulled this off a little better than Smallville.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's taken a little. There are a couple references to Smallville in this, which is not surprising because that's when Smallville was on.
Green had done some work on Smallville.
Oh yeah, that makes even more sense.
Yeah.
So this is clearly the kind of thing he probably wanted to be doing on the show, I imagine.
But, yeah, he has done a lot of TV, like Lost and Heroes, and Smallville. I think he also wrote a few early episodes of season 1 and 2 of Arrow.
Okay, that makes sense. Wait, was he? This isn't the same Michael Green that did Green Lantern, is it?
I don't
think so. I was looking at his work on Amazon, and Amazon's weird because it won't credit, like, it'll show something where he's credited, but it won't be on his author page. It looks like he did a couple of arcs of Supergirl, and he did Batman Lovers and Mad Men, and then he did a couple arcs
Lovers and Mad Men was not bad. Yeah, Michael Green, screenplay on Green Lantern.
The movie. Okay.
Yeah, the movie, sorry.
So that's weird. But yeah, whenever I saw that reference where Superman said it was like there was a freak of the week for a while there, I was like, oh, that's really dated. Like, reading this now, like 8 years after Smallville ended, I'm like, oh, that's I forgot that show was really popular at one time, and this is like right. It just makes me feel old because I remember when the Jeff Loeb run was really huge, and then it's like, oh, that was a really long time ago.
Yeah. So I don't know, like that stuff, it kind of works. It's not great, but at the same time, he makes it work. He makes it fun. I'll agree. Though I was like just blown away the way they did some of the stuff in here with the, like, okay, this guy joined the army in order to, fight for his country and all that stuff. And he got turned into fucking Kryptonite Doomsday. And I was like, damn, that's pretty harsh. Like it's like kind of like stupid, and this isn't an insult, but it's like kind of like stupid, cool sounding thing that doesn't even realize how much of an internalized commentary it is. Like, I legit feel like they talk about, this is being done to me by the nation that I fight and protect. or I fight for and protect. I can't believe it. I'm like, there's a commentary here. I'm not sure how aware of the political context the writer is right now, or if he's just doing this because it's cool.
I'm gonna think it's a little bit of that.
Yeah, you think it's just because it's cool? You don't think he was thinking about the political context?
Well, the other thing is that Kryptonite Doomsday is such a bad 90s thing. Like, it just sounds... But it's so cool, like, when you see Kryptonite Doomsday, you are instantly like, oh, you're like Superman. Oh, fuck me.
Right? And, like, I love the name for him, the American Boy, All-American Boy, yeah. That's pretty funny. And really, I mean, can we all agree this is a better Doomsday than Doomsday?
I'm sick and tired of Doomsday.
I'm talking specifically 90s original Doomsday.
Because the Thing is literally made of the thing that could kill him. Like, it makes more sense.
Yeah, I think for me, like, original Doomsday just packed a punch, no pun intended, just because, like, if it had just been a story where it's like this monster almost destroyed Metropolis and then Superman beat it, then no one would have cared. But because it was like, oh, Superman actually was defeated and died, I think that's why, like, Doomsday will always kind of hold a special place in my heart, like, and nostalgically also. But, like, every time they bring back Doomsday, I die a little bit inside.
It doesn't work. It's kind of like Broly in the Dragon Ball Z movies, where the other two times, soon to be fourth, they bring him back, and it doesn't have the same oomph.
Mm-hmm. They did on Death Battle. They have their secondary show, Death Battle X, which is just the fight. They don't even try to justify or do any analysis. They did Broly versus Doomsday. That was pretty fun. Just little side note, because Doomsday won. Because Broly killed him, but part of Doomsday's power set is you kill him and then he regenerates and you cannot kill him the same way. So yeah. But anyway,
that's a good way to get. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say. Oh, I really want to go back just to look at the comments section with the DBZ fanboys.
Oh yeah, I bet. Anyway, so Doomsday is this overused, like, oh, it's just gonna be like shortcut to a threat to Superman, without actually having to be clever, and that's definitely what it is here. And it's just got this added threat. Like, ever since the creation of Superman, the writers have had this thing where, like, okay, we made him, and now he's arguably too powerful, and that just makes him hard to write. It's not a problem with the character that he's too powerful, but it makes it hard to write. And let's be honest, not everyone that writes comics is the most brilliant writer in the world. So it makes him hard to write. So the scratching the surface of clever that most writers are able to come up with is to think of things to make Superman weak to. And I'll give him credit. Most of the time it makes sense. So yeah, Kryptonite is the weakest of his weaknesses. Of like, oh, it's from his home planet, and so it can almost kill him. What if fucking everyone on Krypton just like constantly vomiting and like falling over? What the shit? But like then you get like the other stuff, like red solar radiation takes away his powers slowly. I like that. Magic,
and I don't use that nearly enough.
They really don't. Magic makes perfect sense. So like, that's what they usually have to do. Is the writer usually isn't clever enough to write Superman where he's using all of his powers and create compelling drama from it. So they usually have to find a way to try to take the powers away from him and create drama out of that. And then if they don't do that, they just give him someone who's really, really strong. So it's Doomsday. And so you got kind of like the ultimate culmination of those things of like, they don't really have a way to create natural drama in the story at this point anymore. And they also don't really have a way to make Superman weaker than what you're already dealing with. So let's just combine the two and just put Kryptonite on Doomsday, and there we go. And that's just kind of what this becomes. So it's undeniably cheap, but just the shock, the like pure awesome factor of Doomsday with Kryptonite spikes is just really fucking cool.
And so fucking Predator dreadlocks.
Right. And like that's the thing is like, where's the action figure of this, right? Like, that's
exactly.
It just immediately bypasses all critical thinking and goes straight to, okay, that's fucking cool, I don't care.
I mean, would you? I would buy this. I would buy this action figure.
You know what? You got me curious. Let's do an old Google search here, shall we?
I'm doing it right now. I don't see any. Dang it.
Oh man, hold on.
I was at least expecting a custom figure.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for.
Although there are some pretty cool normal Doomsday figures, but I don't see any with Kryptonite. So there's a line in the book that I actually laughed out loud at. It's when Batman says, Amanda Waller has him like in that little Attack of the Clones laser light prison thing, and then Batman says, that's Doomsday, or that's a Doomsday thing, and I'm thinking, no crap, it's Doomsday. It looks like Doomsday, Batman. What are you thinking? Like, do you really have to ask? He's supposed to be like the smartest man in the world, and he's like, oh, is that Doomsday?
Yeah, and that's the thing I'm going to talk about, where just little bits and pieces here, Batman feels out of character. It's not hugely significant moments. It's just like little bits and pieces just feel slightly out of character. Because, again, I'm not entirely sure Batman would help him here. I just, I see Superman coming like, I can't be this vulnerable again. I'm put it at risk too much by the stupidest thing, and so I just want to get rid of all of it. And I'm like, I just see Batman as like, no. Like, just not even bothering to explain it. I just no.
See, I bought it just because, like, he's saying, Superman genuinely believes that he can help the planet more if there's not, 8 billion tons of kryptonite. And so that's why Batman's helping him, but he still wants to keep his contingency in case something happens. So, like, I kind of bought it just based on, like, him saying so many times, like, Superman is really sincere about this. He's not full of himself like anyone else would be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The other thing is that it kind of shows of how much Clark trusts Bruce at this point. It's like, look, Bruce, you're the only person I went to help me with this, because I know you would, you above all else would believe me, that I want to help people, that I just want to help people. And I think that's what got, like, Bruce would be like, yeah, that's why I'm doing this, because Clark and me were brothers, so I'm gonna help him out.
By the way, this is a nitpick, like a huge nitpick, but like you're gonna think like, hey, is that there's a custom.
Yep, found it. You know what I did?
What?
I looked up the name of the actual character instead of just putting in Kryptonite Doomsday.
Oh, okay. Is that a custom or is that an actual?
Yeah, it's a custom. I don't know if it's for sale anymore. This is from 2013. I have a feeling that it's not going to be available for purchase anymore. Such is the life of custom figures.
But yeah, here was a weird nitpick. So Firestorm is in this story. Wouldn't it have made sense for them to just say, hey, Firestorm, turn all the kryptonite into pollen or, oxygen?
Well, this was the new Firestorm, who was like still like at this point in the comics, he was still like getting used to having all this power.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
This isn't like Ronnie Raymond, who at this point was killed in Identity Crisis for stupid reasons.
I confess,
stupid reasons are the best reasons.
It sounds like you know a lot more about Firestorm than I do. I basically say, hey, that's Firestorm. I don't know, like, I couldn't even tell that it was a different Firestorm.
This version of the All-American Boy figure looks a lot better. Sorry, off track. I'll put those up on screen for folks. But anyway, yeah, the existence of Firestorm, I don't know what it was about the Superman-Batman series. What the fuck with Hero Toyman?
Oh, yeah, he was introduced in Loeb's run, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was introduced there because, like, at that point, the other Toyman had died, but this one had shown up. And I like him. I liked him. He's a lot of fun.
It's just so weird to me that, like, I had never read this run before. I'd read this book, and Hero had just kind of, like, faded away into the background. I thought he was just a Jeff Loeb character, so Jeff Loeb could make, jokes about Power Girl having boobs. And then, just like,
well, to be fair, that's what everyone does with Power Girl. Pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, her cleavage is her symbol. It's the only thing you can do. But, like, just fucking Hero randomly shows up. Is like, I'm gonna save the day again. well, shit, why isn't this kid on the Justice League? This is the third fucking time in a row.
Why isn't he running the Justice League?
Right?
Or have his own, like, why isn't there Justice League Japan?
Yeah.
I
I like
the fuck out of that book. That sounds great.
they narrowly dodged a really creepy, what could have been something really creepy, because when Toyman says, "Hey, I could help, but I'd like a date with Power Girl," and Batman says, "We have a Power Girl robot," and I'm thinking, "Oh, gross! Don't do that." Like, I'm just thinking of like all the where that could go, and then fortunately, it's like, no, the real Power Girl's going to go on a date with him, and it's going to be a perfectly normal date. Nothing gross or untoward is going to happen. But like when he said that, I was like, oh. Why do you have a Power Girl robot? And I guess, like, Superman.
For giving out on dates so that people...
for 13-year-old boys.
Yeah, duh.
I think that Power Girl robot came from when they were battling Tio Morrow.
Oh, okay. It sounds like you know a lot more about all this than I do. I'm just over here, like, trying to poke holes in it, and you're like, nope, that's a...
No, like, I mean, I'll say this for the Power Girl thing at the end. I really wanted them to kind of subvert that, and like, I feel a better writer would have. Because, like, Hero's whole thing is like, oh yeah, I want to go on a date with Power Girl. I just wanted, just let me fucking make my point. I just wanted, like, the scene where they're in Paris. Like, just imagine this. I'm going to break it down for you. Just a single page, right? They're in Paris at a romantic candlelit table, and Hero is just, like, stone silent as Power Girl just looks at him dead on. No, like, and you just silence of the same panel over and over again for like a proper 9-panel grid of just silent awkwardness of Hero being completely embarrassed and having no idea what to do because he's a fucking child on a date with a goddamn supermodel.
It would be like that episode of Community where LeVar Burton is trying to eat with Troy.
I just wanted a Power Girl robot. You can't disappoint a robot.
Man.
So, speaking of nitpicks, I kind of didn't like the whole magic kryptonite bit in the middle of the story. I thought that was... I don't want to say weird. I just felt like it
felt like a distraction.
Yeah,
it felt like it was like a filler in this story arc, and that's where the comic kind of lagged for me. I was like, whenever I read this again, I'm like, I'm gonna skip this part because this feels useless.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was kind of fun. Like, I like Superman just not giving a fuck and kind of be a kid. That was enjoyable. He's like, oh man, I don't like Batman.
He owes the Justice League a new Xbox or whatever it is that he threw in outer space.
He just basically gets the munchies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's like Superman, but he's high. It's adorable.
And I love... I don't know if I love this or I think it's, like, heavy-handed, but, like, I love that Arsenal is the one who says, hey, he's acting like he's on drugs. Because, get it? Arsenal used to be a druggie. Get it? Like,
and then we had that god-awful Cry for Justice where he got back on cocaine and killed people with a dead cat.
Oh, no.
You know, like you do. You do.
Only way to kill people. The only way to do it.
With a cat. No, like, that's undeniably there. So there's, I don't know, it's to your point, though, Deadpoolzilla, that whole section felt like a Silver Age story.
Yeah,
you know?
Same time, like, the high stuff, I was like, okay, get it. But the stuff with Zatanna and Batman going to Dinosaur Island is definitely the high point of that story.
And I like
that's another part where I felt like Batman was really out of character in ways, though.
How so?
I don't think that Batman doesn't believe in mysticism. Matter of fact, I've read things where Batman very much believes in mysticism. He just knows he doesn't have the talent for it. And it's one of those things you can't just pick up, at least in some versions of the DC universe.
This is the kind of thing with the writers, is that a lot of DC writers either have him that he doesn't believe it's mysticism, or he knows there's mysticism, and he just can't, and he just has to work with it. So, it's not
okay, here's the thing. He doesn't believe in mysticism. Fucking Ra's al Ghul.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the thing, is that it's very infuriating, because some DC writers like, oh no, Batman's like hardcore science and all this. And then there's others who like, yeah, I live in a world with a fucking god in it, or gods, if you will.
Yeah,
I can
like,
accept magic.
Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, Batman, it is a measurable fact, thanks to the Green Lantern books, that the universe started with a hand. Like, that's just that is a measurable fact within the facets of the DC universe. He hangs out with Wonder Woman, who has met and interacts, and whose main villain most of the time is a fucking Greek god, literally. Like, it just does not make any sense for Batman not to be, at least somewhat embracing of mysticism. And so he's got this whole thing was like, no, it's just not explained yet. Like, no, it's just, it's a different thing. It's not scientific at this point. And so I always prefer the Batman that's, like, very much like, I prefer the interpretation that, kind of like the Harry Potter thing, where muggles, for lack of a better word, can use magical objects that have been enchanted by wizards, but like if a human picked up a wand, it's not going to do anything because you need to have like the ability inside you in order for it to work. So like, you know, like you put a muggle in like the flying car in book 2, and yeah, the car will fly for them because it's been enchanted to do that, but they can't pick up a wand and just learn to use it by trying really hard. It's kind of the way I always like to interpret magic in the DC universe, because otherwise, if that's not how it worked, Batman would be a mystic. That's just, you know, that's what he would devote his time to, because it would enable him to be super powerful.
To your point about him believing or not believing in magic, I like to think that when he, like, circa Batman Year One, like when he first gets started, he's like, no, there's no such thing as magic. It makes no sense at all that by this point, like when he's been with the League at least 10 years probably, it makes no sense that he would say there's no such thing as magic here. I like the line in Batman Beyond when he said, I've worked with witch boys and seen demons. Like, he's talking about like Etrigan and Clarion and Zatanna. Like, by that point, like, he's saying, yeah, I do believe in magic, but like it's just an unquantifiable thing. Like, at one point he even says, like, there's still rules. Like, it's kind of hinting that he doesn't like it because the rules can be changed, and he's very much like a by the rules guy. But it doesn't make sense when he keeps insisting to Zatanna that magic isn't real.
Yeah, that's like, it's fucking Zatanna that he's arguing with, right? Like, I mean, she makes a T-Rex sit on command in this book. It just makes him come off like such a dipshit. I hate it. So like, that's just really out of character. And again, out of character is probably the wrong term, but it's definitely not in my characterization. It's not my view of Batman. And so a lot of little things in this just don't work for me as far as like conceits you have to take for Green's interpretation of Batman.
I did like, the one thing I liked about this middle chunk where with the magic kryptonite, I did like that they're referencing, I'm assuming this is a reference to Batman the Animated Series, but Zatanna said, like, you were just the same when you were 17. I don't know if that, because there's an episode of Batman the Animated Series where we find out that Bruce trained with Zatara and met Zatanna when he was a teenager.
That was a reference. That was a reference.
Yeah, and I don't know if that had been brought into the main DC universe before this, but I like that being referenced.
You know, it's one of those things. I don't mind the idea that he trained with Zatara. It totally works. As far as, like, whether or not he had a relationship with Zatanna, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of how much of a man whore Batman is sometimes. Like,
I don't know, because this is, like, apparently, according to Red Leader, this is his favorite. Batman and Zatanna is his favorite chip, so.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you're into what you're into.
Excuse me?
You're into what you're into. I just don't get it.
I never got it either. I'm like, I can see them working together because, you know, I can see, you know, these two working together, but not in a relationship way. Because, like, Batman sees, like, all that, like, the timeline he could have, and he's married to Zatanna. I'm like, really? Not Catwoman?
Or any of his other girlfriends, yeah. I don't necessarily ship these two together. I don't mind saying that they had a fling, but I don't see them as, like, as potential lovers now. Especially the way Batman, like, they're bickering so much. Like, do you really see yourself with her? Like, what kind of relationship is that where you're constantly belittling her livelihood?
That's the other thing. Like, she's too free spirited. She's too like she's not his type. And God, that's probably one of the gays I probably said.
Not really. I don't know. I don't like that relationship all that much. But yeah, I could see a fling. I don't know. To me, it's one of those things. I feel like it invalidates Zatanna a little bit, but whatever. She's obviously had trouble with relationships in the past. I mean, someone that's dating someone like John Constantine, Christ.
We're dating Deadman.
Right?
Did she date Deadman?
Yeah, for a short time she dated Deadman.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't know, just that's neither here nor there, because it's not really gone into in this all that much. What else with the magic arc? Okay,
So
I was confused by this, because, like, he takes off the cape to go into the cave, and then, like, they paint his chest and everything. And then he goes into the volcano, and he's wearing the costume again. I was like, wait, what?
I think they painted the bat on his chest, I think.
He's not wearing the costume in that? Okay, my bad.
I don't know why they did that. I thought that was...
Yeah, he's just wearing the cape and cowl, but he's not wearing the costume.
Okay, I missed that. Which I kind of want to kick myself for, because that's... I don't know, this is going to sound like the gayest thing I've said. I really like when we get images of Batman with the cowl on. Cape, I can take or leave, but with the cowl on and shirtless. That is like a visual aesthetic for Batman I really, really dig. I don't know why.
Like that Neil Adams cover where he's fighting Roz in the desert with a sword?
Yes! I love that aesthetic. Like, this about absolutely nothing, but I don't fucking care. So my dream Bane story is Bane shows up in Gotham, and this would, like, be a retcon of Nightfall, because I'd want it to be the first time they met. Bane shows up in Gotham, and he just kind of, like, directly challenges Batman, just goes downtown Gotham and starts, like, flipping over cars. Batman shows up, sees him, and Bane's, like, pounding on his chest, like, jockeying for a fight. Batman just doesn't suffer shit like this, so he just fucking tases the shit out of him. Has to use a surprising amount of electricity to get him out, and then it knocks him dead. And so he sends Bane off to Arkham or whatever, and then Bane breaks out of Arkham, breaks out all the other villains, and then that causes the whole classic Nightfall-esque showdown of Batman exhausting himself fighting all the other villains, and Bane breaks into the Batcave and fights him there, and Bane wins. So you've got 1-1, one round each. And then I wanted Batman to recover from the back injury and all that stuff and go fight Bane, but, like, this time fight him on his own terms, so not use any fucking gadgets. And the way I wanted him to exemplify that was to fucking only wear the cowl and just have, like, the shirt off, like, so fucking testosterone action movie shit. It would have been the coolest. Like, I've always had that image, that whole story, this whole story arc in my head, and so, like, this is the rematch, the final round kind of thing, where, like, they're 1-1, and so this is the deciding factor of who actually is the better fighter.
Now all I can imagine is Batman going, "Come here, come on, cure me! Come on, do it!"
Yeah. So yeah, just, I don't know, it's stupid, it's silly, but, like, that's the thing I always like is Batman, no shirt, but with cowl. I dig that. It's so my thing. What else with this, then? Lana Lang is evil.
Yeah.
Lex Luthor's been too evil, and we needed to pump the brakes on him a little bit, I guess.
Well, he was in... So they mentioned that he's on another planet. I think at this point...
That's fucking continuity.
Yeah,
this is
Salvation
during...
Run.
Yeah, this is during Salvation Run.
Which was not a great story. It potentially could have been really awesome. I remember reading it. I remember not liking it, and I don't even remember why. But I just remember I did not like it.
Nice.
But yeah, so I think the problem I have with Lana Lang is that when she was first created in the Superboy comics in like the 50s or 60s, they basically just recreated Lois Lane and recreated Jimmy Olsen and Pete Ross. And then they tried to bring adult Lana Lang into the Superman stories, I guess in the 70s. And I don't know why you would do that when you already have Lois Lane in the adult Superman stories. So you've now got...
Because drama.
I guess.
Yeah, because
comics writers aren't really good at creating natural drama around Superman, so they have to manufacture it in really artificial and annoying ways.
Yeah.
It was pretty much like, okay, Ruben, it was essentially like this in the writer's room. Hey, you guys like Betty and Veronica, right? Yeah. But what if we did that with DC, with our characters? Oh my God, Johnson, go home and suck my wife's cock. Your wife has a cock?
What the fuck?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and the problem with bringing adult Lana Lang in is that now you have two Lois Lanes, so you have to do something different with Lana. So someone said, let's have her be Lex Luthor 2.0.
Why?
I don't know.
I don't get it. Like, there's so many other Lex Luthor analogs, especially at this time. What the fuck were we doing with Mercy at this time?
I know, and I don't remember. This is before Infinite Crisis, but sometime around that time there was an Infinity Inc. series that was pretty forgettable, and I think by that point she was trying to reform, sort of. So I don't know if this was.
Yeah,
around...
this is when they tried to retcon that she was an Amazon.
Oh, really? Wow, that's awful.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just finding out all kinds of awful things about the DC universe today.
I mean, that's DC for you. They're really good at hiding their past. I mean,
Better than Marvel.
Yeah. But no, like that, like just literally anyone else. Like, yeah, Mercy would have been a good one because she was kind of around in the comics at the time.
They've had like a few other characters that had appeared now and again, like, and they're all female characters from like Mexico or South America with these long ass names that are just completely ridiculous to say out loud, and I forget them.
Oh, like the Contessa, Lex's wife from the early '90s or mid-90s.
Yeah, her. Yeah, like her.
I think so. Lana. So I think they could have maybe almost made her actions understandable in the same way that Batman keeping Kryptonite a secret from Superman is kind of understandable, because she says this company was in the toilet and I had to make a decision so that nobody working here would lose their jobs. Okay, I kind of understand that. It's still a dick move because
it's such a weak justification.
It is, but then here's where it stops being justifiable, because after she saves the company, she already said, this decision, I saved the company. After that, she says, I've got kryptonite pockets all over the world, 1,000 of them, and I'm going to detonate all of them because I am evil. Why? Like, if Superman takes all of your kryptonite, you've still saved the company. There's no reason for you to keep 1,000 kryptonite pockets all over the planet, other than drama.
You've already made the deal. They can't get a refund now.
Yeah, and I think they invented the weapon, so like her having the kryptonite cache is just icing on the cake. That doesn't have anything to do with her deal with the government. So like, to a point, it's justifiable. I agree, it's weak, but to a point, it's justifiable. And then it's just like, nope, now she's the supervillain and she detonates kryptonite bombs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how that works.
I think if I remember right, and I could be wrong here, but if I remember right, and they actually do a minor reference to this in this comic, that she was under the influence by Desaad.
Of course, mind control, only in comics.
Yep. Was this... So you may know this, Deadpoolzilla. I believe James Robinson did a Superman run, and I want to say it was after this where Lana got fired because she mentioned Superman. Like, Lex Luthor said, you're fired. Nobody's allowed to mention Superman in this building. Was that after this?
I want to say yes.
Okay. I remember reading that.
You say stuff like that, it makes James Robinson sound like a really good writer.
I am so on the fence with James Robinson. That's a topic for another day. There's times where I'm like, he is a god, and then there's times where he writes that Justice League Dark Things or Justice League Justice Society crossover that was one of the worst things I ever read. So anyway,
He didn't write Virtue. He didn't write Virtue and Vice. That was Jeff Johns.
No, it was a different one. I don't even remember what it was called.
Oh,
it was...
okay. Now I remember. I know what you're talking about. Never mind.
Yeah. Can I take us somewhere?
What did you guys think of Amanda Waller?
Really cliche version of Amanda Waller, which is weird because it's been a while since I've read the Loeb run. Maybe one of you guys will remember. Is she the same in the run as she was in the movie for Public Enemies?
Oh dear.
It's been a while since I've watched the movie or read the comic, but I seem to recall she is allied with Lex Luthor because he's the president, and then she kind of realizes he's insane and kind of
like goes on to Batman and Superman's side. That's how I remember it. So like she's really cliche, like government official written here, but then that's also really out of character for her. And like there's a difference between being out of character for the way it's written, for the way a character is written just in the main universe, and being out of a character for the way the character is written in the same series, right? Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, the writers change and everything, but still, like, Lex Luthor almost destroyed the world, and luckily Batman and Superman saved us. Cool, great, yay. Why does she suddenly hate Batman and Superman?
I have never...
I think that's the one thing Green didn't like pick up on. And plus, Waller's just a bitch in general.
Yeah, I've never really liked very rarely. I liked her in the DC animated universe because most of the time her arguments made a lot of sense. But like in the comics, most of the time I'm just like, I don't really like the way she's being written here. And this one is no exception. I didn't like the way she.
And this one, it's all over the place, like motivation wise. Like you self-appointed vigilantes are a danger to society. That's why I created a fucking doomsday Kryptonite clone to put you in check. Yeah, you're clearly able to control him as he just fucking demolishes Smallville, which I want to talk about because it just seems like the writers of this series, when they were doing like the arcs and not doing just the standalone issues, it seems like they really liked just destroying Smallville or Smallville adjacent things, like. Because I remember the Darkseid fight that just fucking wrecked the Kent home in Batman Apocalypse. And so fucking Smallville just gets demolished here.
Where Darkseid literally goes and knocks on the door and then destroys the house like, hey, it's me, Darkseid, I'm here to destroy your home.
No, that's not how... maybe that's how it happened in the comic.
No. He just busts through the door, like, in the Kent's home and just, like, clocks Superman. He's like, "Sup, bitch."
Yeah. So I did. And I didn't like how she's like, "You guys think just because you put on a costume that you can break the constitutional law?" And I'm thinking, literally every appearance you're in, you break the constitutional law, Waller. Why is it okay for you?
I remember they even had President Obama in the New 52 go, "Your shit is insane. You're fucked."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's because Obama was the liberal that all the liberal comic writers like.
I also didn't really like. It's not that I hated it. I just thought it was kind of dumb. Where it's like, oh, this climax happens in Smallville. Like, of all the places in America where this secret government facility could have been, why is it 5 miles from Smallville? Like, that just seemed like we have to have the stakes be even more high. Like, oh no, like his parents are about to die, the Kryptonite Doomsday is going to kill them, and so it's even more important that Superman stop him than it would be if this was in Nebraska or Florida or Alabama. So like as soon as he said like it's in Kansas, I was like, oh, like, and I'd read this years ago, but I'd forgotten that it culminates in Smallville. So I thought, I don't know, I feel like this could have been like any town in Indiana, and if she said who cares, Superman still. Oh, sorry. It could have been anywhere. It could have been Tennessee. And when Waller says, who cares about, I don't know, Bucksnort, Tennessee, and Superman should still say, I care. like, it shouldn't be just because it's his hometown. Like,
Ruben, Superman writers have a hard time writing the character, so they manufacture drama in cheap ways.
yeah, I need to get that through my head.
Go get it a tattoo, like, on your forehead of that whole paragraph, please.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. I thought that was... I could have done without the Smallville cameo here. Although I do like anytime Bruce Wayne or Superman bringing guests to the Kents. Like, I liked it here. I like it in Justice League when he brings the Martian Manhunter. I dig that, but could have done without the Smallville cameo.
Poor Hal Jordan.
When did that happen?
No, he never gets invited over for apple pie. I'm making a reference to Man of Steel.
Yeah, because yeah,
he's blown off Hal Jordan apparently.
Hey. There's just a moment where they're like, "Hey, Hal, you know why you're not invited? Because of the parallax thing."
Yeah,
well, like it's funny because Bendis just kind of can't I kind of feel like Bendis maybe just like watched the Lego movie, and the Lego Batman movie. It was just like, oh, so Superman like hates Green Lantern for some reason. Okay, Green Lantern's gonna be in my Man of Steel comic, and he's gonna be like really nice to Superman, and Superman's just gonna blow him off. I'm like, okay, I guess that works.
Oh, fuck Bendis' Man of Steel book.
Oh no, I loved it. Fuck you.
Agreed. I'm gonna disagree with you on that one, good sir, because I really fucking hated that book.
Really? I guess you just like don't have taste.
I guess you're a dick.
I haven't read it. I'm not a Bendis fan though, so I try to avoid his stuff. I don't have taste either though.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, but so
it's wrong.
I don't know.
That's all you need to know.
So did we ever? I'm going to assume the answer is no. Did we ever see this team that was all Kryptonite powered? Did we ever see them again?
No. I think like Michael Green wanted them to be something like, but he realized, oh wait, this isn't the '90s anymore.
Mm-hmm. They remind me of the Ultramarine Corps from Grant Morrison's Justice League run, but less interesting.
I think like the major inspiration for them was Stormwatch.
Oh yeah, they do kind of.
Yeah, he did. Like the one character looks like Midnighter, so.
Yeah, and I thought it was funny when he was like, "Screw you, Waller! I don't work for you anymore. I'm going to do everything in my power to turn All-American Boy back into a human." And I was thinking, how? You don't have government funding anymore. How are you going to do that? Like Batman might help as Bruce Wayne, but like, how are this team going to do anything? They don't have the funding. What are they going to do anymore when they're not working for the government? And I would think for sure they're going to get court-martialed for quitting like that. I don't know.
Then, like, Batman's kind of a dick. He's like, I have evidence that you fucking, like, mutated an American soldier without him realizing what he'd consented to.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll give you all the kryptonite if you make that go away. How about, Batman, hear me out. How about you'd make that public, as well as the fact that the government's hoarding stockpiles of kryptonite against Superman.
Yeah.
And he had to fucking save the day.
And and also, on top of that, made a fucking monster out of said kryptonite. You know, that thing that would have wiped out all of humanity had not Superman fucking died to save us from.
And like for everyone saying, oh well, the like right wingers would have been happy that like someone put the lib cuck Superman in check. No, they did it like in the back. They did it in like the worst evil government way, where all the conspiracy theorists would be totally pissed off because like it's in the back of like, you know, Heart of America kind of shit.
Yeah,
so it's one of those like it's a useless plot point that's just there to kind of like make the status quo come back to normal.
Yeah,
and also give us a quote unquote happy ending.
Well, like, and what's weird is like, they're acting like Amanda Waller still has some cards to play here, but like her entire team has betrayed her. Like they're all like, "Screw you, Waller," and then she's like, "Okay, fine, I give you the kryptonite if you don't expose me." It's like they have, like you said, they have no reason to deal with her. She has nothing to deal with, Like, they could just say, we're going to take the Kryptonite by force, and there's nothing you can do about it because these guys aren't fighting us anymore. It's just a bunch of nameless soldiers. I mean, that's mean. They have names. They have families.
They have families. They have families who care if they get turned into Kryptonite doomsdays. Like, there's that whole scene of, like, the mother and father coming, it's like, my boy. And I just wanted the father to be like, that's fucking cool.
Can we keep him like that? I mean, like totally. Could you imagine the grandkids? He would just totally rip shit up.
Yeah, he'd be a fucking badass. That's my boy.
Not some libcuck redhead bastard child.
Yeah, I don't know. It was pretty dumb. It's dumb, but it's cool. It's kind of my
It's
thing,
so
the
cool.
whole thing.
To quote Dragon Ball Z abridged, it's so cool, but it's so dumb.
Yep.
I think that's a good way to describe this whole book.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. It's got its moments that like are really interesting and kind of cool and kind of fun. It's got
Can we also
a
talk
political
about
commentary
how-
I don't think it knows about.
Can we all just acknowledge also the whole thing of Superman taking Batman to a Superman-Batman movie being filmed, and he's
That was
pissed
funny.
on him the whole time?
That was pretty funny.
Come on, man. It's funny. Come on, man. Smile. Look at it. Like, a Batman? Get it? He's just ripping on Batman the whole time, and Batman's like, I'm gonna get you back for this, Clark.
I like the first page. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on with these costumes? I'd actually forgotten that it starts at a movie set. Because I was like, that looks like the Superman Returns costume, and I don't know what's going on with Batman's costume, because Batman had a costume very similar to that towards the very end of the pre-New 52 continuity. He had like a raised bat symbol thing like that, and I think he had that in Earth 1. So I was like, what is going? And then I turned the page and I was like, oh yeah, that's what's happening. I thought it was kind of stupid that, and this is another huge nitpick where I'm just going to sound like I'm just like really picking apart minor stuff, but like Kryptonite is supposed to be insanely expensive. Like you pay like $100,000 for like a gram, and there's like a 10-pound piece of it on a movie set. How much did the director pay for this? Like, and it's not just he accidentally got real Kryptonite. Like Batman or Superman 1 later says like he went out of his way to get real Kryptonite because it looked more authentic. Which, come on, like no movie audience is going to know if it's authentic or not because they don't know what real Kryptonite looks like. But
Ruben, to be fair, some directors are just those kind of assles.
I guess so.
I mean, more to be fair to the story itself, they do establish that Kryptonite is much cheaper in this universe, and like it's such. Again, Superman writers have a hard time creating drama around the character, so they have to manufacture it. So like, Kryptonite's always supposed to be super expensive and ultra rare, and yet it's just fucking in every story. Some Joe Schmo has Kryptonite. To be fair, the continuity here, and they do mention it in the story, you gotta remember how Supergirl is like freshly arrived to Earth.
Yeah.
Roughly speaking, and she came with like a giant megaton meteor of Kryptonite.
And they mention that, but then Batman says most of it burned up in the atmosphere. And so like it would have been, I think I would have been fine with it if they just said, yeah, when Supergirl came here a few weeks ago, there was like, an entire planet of Kryptonite landed here. But then he says most of it burned up, so it's like they tried to almost give them some.
In fairness, when it says almost all of it burned up, that's still a fucking lot because it was the size of a moon.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So when they say most, they probably mean like 1/3 of it. And 1/3 of something the size of a goddamn moon is still a lot.
Yeah. I like, this is a minor geeky gentleman trivia thing, but we just talked last week about heroes who could turn into villains, and you mentioned Aquaman, Ian, and here he's not a villain, and this is not the Aquaman. This is a new Aquaman who came out after Infinite Crisis, but
and Aquaman no one remembers or likes.
I liked
but
it.
You know what everyone remembers about this era of Aquaman?
What?
Sub Diego.
Oh, that was actually before this.
I know, but it's just like that general era, and just the stupidness of that name is so damn endearing.
Maybe it's just my overall fondness for Aquaman anyway, but I like the Sub Diego era. I like the idea of Aquaman being thrust into not a non-Atlantis leadership role. But that's neither here nor there. And I also like the Sword of Atlantis series with this Aquaman. I only have the first 6 issues because they didn't keep putting out trades, but I liked what I read. But I do like that this shows an Aquaman in an antagonistic role after we just talked about that last week. I thought that was kind of neat.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I kind of like this Aquaman. I wish they had done more with him.
Fair enough.
The real Aquaman was like... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I wish they did more with King Shark.
Yeah, I King Shark as an Aquaman character is like a no-brainer. I don't know why he's showing up in the Flash TV show or why he started off as a Superboy character. Like, make him an Aquaman character. Come on, guys.
Yeah, he was like the strong arm for this Aquaman. So why isn't he more like that now?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Well, do we have anything else we want to say on this, or we want to go ahead and go on to ratings?
I'd say ratings.
Yeah, I'd say ratings. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Well, I'll go first. I feel like I ragged on this a bunch. It's not bad. It's just pretty average, and if you think about things for more than half a sec, it gets pretty stupid.
Mm-hmm.
But that's fine. It is more of like a just fun kind of comic, and it's got its moments. So I'll go ahead and give this 3 out of 5 All-American Boys.
All right.
Which sounds like All American Boy sounds like a Bruce Springsteen song. Now that I think about it.
I kind of want to make like a song. Like, I wish All American Boy was a more popular and reused character, because I kind of want to make a parody song about him using American Girl.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you could hear the Weird Alness of this coming through. Is like, oh yeah, Kryptonite. Take it easy, man. Fight Superman all night.
Yeah.
For me, this is a fun story. It does have its flaws, but I still think this is it's a nice little. If you want to see like non-antagonistic Batman and Superman and like them being bros, like. There's a joke of Superman still wearing an eye patch, and when he goes to Batman to ask him for help, he goes, "I need your help. I need something from you, Batman." And Bruce goes, "No, Clark, you can't use my pirate ship."
And the funny part about that is, Batman totally owns a pirate ship.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like there's no doubt that he doesn't own a pirate ship. Everyone just acknowledges that. But having said that, this is just a neat little story, like, to just pick up and read. And, yeah, that's really all I can say. So I'm going to give this 3.5 Pirate Supermen out of 5.
I will give it 2.5 magical moon-shaped pieces of kryptonite out of 5.
All right. Fair enough.
What was your rating, Ian? Sorry.
It was 3.
Oh, okay.
It was 3 All-American Boys.
Yeah. I was distracted by the Tom Petty.
He was an All-American boy.
That just needs to be our outro. I can't sing, or I try, but...
Yeah. I don't know. Alright, what are we going to talk about next time? I don't know if we'll get a full topic out of that or not, but... Deadpool's Hill is right. It would be nice to be a little lighter, less heavy-handed for a while. Can we talk about Legos? Does everyone feel comfortable just talking about Legos?
I think so.
Okay, that'll be fun. Because I've been watching a bunch of Lego-related videos lately, and yeah, I'm just kind of getting into it again. So, yeah, let's talk about Legos next week. All right.
Until
next time, everyone. I'm the Philosopher.
I'm the Comics Kid 2099.
And I am the Don Juan of Comic-Con.
And we are your geeky gentlemen. And we will be discussing things.